autism.
Eh, autism, metalcore, and a banger of a movie are the themes of today.
Goodbye, Airy. Here we are. This will come out during some sort of off week for Chainsaw Man, probably. Um, you know, I'm not even sure. It's interesting because I feel like it's like, even though it's longer, it feels like it's almost harder to talk about than a weekly Chainsaw Man chapter because this feels less like a wacky manga chapter and more like I just watched like a super deep like indie film at like a what are those things called? Sometimes they have them at cons where it's like. At least our con they have it at where it's like you
like
go in.
Grindhouse Film
Yeah,
Festival.
like you go in
well,
and you
it's not
watch,
really
like,
Grindhouse, but I would say it would be more like the Sundance Film Festival, right?
Well, imagine you're watching an indie film and it's like this like super sad like documentary about someone's mom die and then the fucking hospital explodes. So I think my favorite part of this whole bit of manga or whatever, is the, and I'm sure that's the point, is how do I want to word this? The blurring of lines between fiction and reality the entire time. It's very hard to tell sometimes, and like you're constantly like whiplashing back and forth. And even at the end, like you get this is one of those things that you can theory craft forever because at the end. I guess we shouldn't skip right to the end, but fuck it. You've read it if you're here. At the end, It's like there's this like, oh yeah, dude, I'm actually a vampire and I came back to life, and I'm sitting there like, it's Fujimoto, so that could really.
I love
could
the
really
3
be
days to resurrect too bit there.
That's true. It's Fujimoto. She really could be a vampire, but this also genuinely could be like his fucking like sad suicide hallucinations. You know what I mean? Because I mean, the man was literally going there. He pulled out a noose, right? Yep. I'm guessing, it's not a stretch to imagine that before he hyped himself up to go over there and like get a noose and kill himself, that he would be on some like crazy drugs too. You know what I mean? So like you could spin it both ways. Either that it's like, because I mean it's a little wacky, but I mean that's Fujimoto.
So
either interpretation that you look at it's a beautiful ending. But anyway, go ahead.
Like as somebody who has attempted in the past, like you want to have some sort of numbness, so there's definitely probably
He
some
was probably drunk at least, like
off-screen substance use, but there's also the like big theory crafting bit of like, and the religious iconography there with like the 3 days to resurrect shit. Like Fujimoto's one-shots have always had this deep metaphorical meaning, whereas like Chainsaw Man, it has a bit of that with like the religious, like the 4 Horsemen, stuff like that going on. But it also gets a bit wacky, zany, yada yada. But between like Look Back and Goodbye Eri, his 2 bigger, longer, like single volume one-shots. Like I do love Look Back, and we'll get to that eventually. But you had read Goodbye Eri first, is why we're doing this first. I think that I love the themology of this one better, because I'm a big slut for like indie / crappy movies. Yeah. Like I sat in a theater and watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, like a movie has to be so bad for it to be a waste of time. Like it's fun to go to a theater and watch like a shitty movie. There's almost always something entertaining about it.
Yeah, I mean, like even with as much as I shit on like the Pooh movie, like it was a fun, schlocky, dumb movie. Like there's needless gore. There's all sorts of dumb shit going on. Like for the first 10 minutes, you have somebody get their clothes ripped off and fed into a meat grinder. Like you can always enjoy something.
By
like,
Winnie the Pooh?
Yes, by Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh fed a topless woman into a grinder.
Does he talk at all in the movie? Does he like talk? No. See, that's what I want to hear him go like, oh, bother.
No, I would have fucking shit myself.
He's like fucking... I don't know. It strikes me as the type of movie where this would happen.
You were talking about like made the joke of like, oh bother, or why bother,
you were talking
as
about,
like the whole pre-film thing.
You were talking about. You said that it was like a topless woman, right? So like it was like one of those like overly sexual ones, right? Like I could just see like a scene in those types of movies. I could see a scene where like fucking the horrible Winnie the Pooh. We're talking. If you don't know what we're talking about, by the way, there was like Winnie the Pooh lost its like it's not copyright anymore by Disney. So
the first few books aren't.
Right, but like the character of Winnie the Pooh, anyone can do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Unless you're in Japan. Or not Japan, but China. China, you can't.
Well, different reasons, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, point being, I could see a scene where, like, Yeah, this is actually a dark joke. I could see a scene where Winnie the Pooh like rapes someone. Is all I'm saying. Like I could just see that fitting right in, and then he's like, I'm just imagining like.
I'm going to get in your honey pot now.
That's exactly where I was gonna go with it. Yep, that's exactly. And I was like, I kind of.
See, I don't care. Yeah. I'll say the shit. Yeah. But hey, man, no, like there definitely could have been a scene like that, but I think it would have gotten a higher rating than the director wanted.
NC-17.
Mm-hmm. It barely skated by with an R.
Yeah.
Well, it was that bloody, that gory, and that disgusting. But I love B horror movies. I love like B movies, and what he shot originally definitely felt like that crappy indie art film student
it's like a mixture movie. Of like parallel or Paranormal Activity type of movie or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I need to actually. I'm trying to bring it back up, but like I hate Viz's search function because if you're not in the right section of it, it doesn't bring you to the actual like where to read it.
You got to go to the Shonen Jump side, and then you got to dig down. I
just put it on Google. Fuck this.
Yeah, dude. I pay for like the Shonen Jump subscription, but sometimes it's just more convenient to go to the pirate site, and especially like when you're filming shit like this. It's just
I figured it out. It's better to just go on Google. So, let's see. A couple things I really like about this. Like I said already, I like the melding of like fiction and reality. It's very good. Mm-hmm. I've always loved, and Fujimoto does this in Chainsaw Man, but you can tell he had a lot more because whereas Chainsaw Man, there's like a strict, you got to have this many pages a week, and obviously you don't want to have like, oh, well, your chapter for this week is like half blank pages or anything. But in this, because like the page limit was set by him, assumedly, like he can just do whatever he fucking wants with the pages. So like there's so many of those pages where it's just like 3-4 pages in a row of like nothing happening but just like visuals.
Yep.
And that like builds anticipation, and it puts you much more into their headspace, you know, and like I really like how he does that, and it makes it such like a breezing read. It feels more like an experience than like you're reading something. I like that. The one I'm thinking of specifically is there's like 4 in a row. It's like 160, 161, 163, 164 are all just like black squares, and I don't know. It's very cool. Like I feel like some people. A younger me would have been like, this is a waste of space. I want content jammed packed into every fucking atom of the page. But now I'm just like, no, dude, I kind of respect like the using of space to, yeah. Or like another good example is 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 49 are all just a shot of the window and her IV bags as Eri is dying. Yep. And then it cuts perfectly to that double page spread of like, here's the movie and they're watching her die. And like that shot, I think is probably, my assumption is it's because like he was probably had the phone down on the bed with the camera facing upward, still filming. And he was probably, because they're talking about like they kiss or whatever, although they apparently weren't actually dating. It was just for the movie. And that's the interesting part, right? This to me calls to mind like I know it's a thing we always bring up, but it was truly a cultural turning point in the internet when Logan Paul did the Suicide Forest thing, right? There's this, I think the new generation, I think this manga really captures some of the like, I don't know, psychosis, I don't know if that's the right word, but like the mental divergence, the neurodivergency of like the Gen Z and like younger generations, and how they have a very hard time separating like reality and fiction because everything's being filmed constantly. I saw a TikTok a couple days ago. It was like how I imagine all of these what's the gen after Gen Z? Is it Gen Alpha or whatever?
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
Yeah, so it's like how I imagine Gen Alpha's core memories look, and it's like their mom like, happy birthday, but they're holding like a phone like in their face and they're like jamming it in their face like, open your presents, you know, and like that's like, gonna cause some fucking mental strife. One last sentence, and then I'll jump it to you. And you can see in this main character, he is so mentally weird, and he's obsessed with filming all this shit. And then, of course, later in the story, you see that his mom was kind of the toxic one for like forcing him to do it, and that no doubt made him as weird as he is. And then one last thing, towards the end, I don't remember exactly where he says it, but I think it's when we find out that he got into a car accident and his like wife and kid died. and he talks about how yeah, I have this bad habit of viewing the problems right in front of me from an outside perspective, right? And like he's reflecting on his like inability to feel empathy, and like because we see this multiple times where it's like your mom's dead or this thing happened, and he's just like he doesn't really know how to react, or he'll be like, well, I'm gonna go kill myself now, and he's like filming it for content. I mean, like this strikes me as like I think this is him showing like the logical conclusion of where like the mental health of like these younger generations where everything is content is going to go.
Oh, 100%. Like I have this love-hate relationship with the constant content side of the universe, and
I see you fall prey to it as well. I think no one I know more than you tweets like they have 1 million followers, even though they have like 10. You know what I mean?
No. I 100% agree with you. Like I try to like balance like the brand side of my brain, where like I try to run the business side, like produce the side of like the Control Chaos stuff and all.
As long as
all
you're
that.
enjoying it, as long as
but there is like a genuine side of me that hates social media to no fucking end. Like I deactivate or privatize my accounts constantly because I get sick of the constant toxicity that side of the internet brings out.
What I notice with you is that you tend to go, like flip flop back and forth on the extremes. Either you're like tweeting 6 times a day, or you come on and you're like, I'm deleting it for like 5 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like yesterday, like because I've been working with one of our local venues here lately, and as like a tour producer. So like I had a lot of free time between band sets. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try and stir the pot here because I very much hate like organized religion, right? And
I saw that you got like a couple thousand tweet likes on that.
Yeah. It like my phone broke for the entire night.
You can't have a fucking notification play every time you get a like, man.
No, like I eventually just like I'm muting this thread. Like it's fucking hilarious. But like I hate the idea of organized religion. I love the fact that somebody decided to use that book banning bill against like conservative Christians. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, ban it.
Yep. I saw something like that recently too, where back in 2008 when Obama was trying to pass Obamacare, I think it was the Wyoming. I saw this on a TikTok just this morning. The Wyoming state constitution they put into their state constitution. They were like, any able-bodied adult has the right to make their own decisions about their own health care, right? And then recently, like this year, they tried to do an abortion ban, and like one of their judges was like, sorry guys, you put it in the Constitution that they can make their own decisions about their health care.
Right. I fucking love that. I saw that, but I saw it on Twitter. But like I've grown up in this era of like watching the infancy of the internet and seeing what that constantly on, where you're constantly on camera, you're constantly on the like internet itself, from the age of forums on down to like what the internet is today. And as much as I hate what that's become, I also do see like the positive side of it, right? Yeah, and the ability to like log every possible memory and not have the need for 7,000 photo books and not have the need for like all this shit cluttering up your house, like the ability to have minimalism without, losing anything, unless like your account gets deleted and you're kind of fucked. But I do love that side of it, right? And I do find a genuine joy in being able to, like right now, like I've gotten the chance to enjoy the side of the industry that I've always wanted to be a part of, where I've been able to like follow bands and take their crowning moments and like watch genuine joy. Like I don't know if you saw it, like I got to witness one of my like favorite bands moments where like they announced they're going to frickin' Lollapalooza, which is a festival they've always wanted to play. And I got to capture that moment yesterday. And just getting to see that, I'm like, this is what the internet really is made for, the ability to capture this moment, no matter how dark it is. In the instance of like Goodbye Ari, where like you're going around having to deal with the toxic side of your mother, but you're wanting to paint her in a positive light, and allow her to live her last moments in this kind of, shining achievement of like, you raised a good kid, you've done all the things you wanted to do, but you want to be able to show the world this journey through this illness, whatever it really was. And then the duality of going back through it with Aerie as this like fake love interest where she's a vampire, or maybe she's not, or maybe that's a delusion of grandeur from like this idealized romance you had in your brain for her, and having the ability to go back and correct the inability to film that final moment back then. And that's just something that's so dark and beautiful to me, you know?
Yeah, and like it's up for interpretation. Obviously, my interpretation is that this final scene where he finds her and she's still alive, and I actually was a vampire or whatever. My interpretation is that, and I think it's actually, the more I'm looking at this, the more I think it's pretty obvious. Actually, the whole time towards the end of the series or the end of this bit, he's talking about how like he felt like the movie was missing something, and he kept trying to edit it for years and years and years and years. And I think this is the ending that he edited on. I think he probably used some sort of special effects, or I mean, he has like literally. I did the math. He talked about how many hours of film he has of her. It was 111 days worth of film.
Yeah.
So he has enough. He has enough like film of her, and this would theoretically take place in the future. So I mean, he probably could have just like deep faked her to make this like scene with her again. I'm thinking that this ending is just what he tacked on, because then it ends with the explosion, right? His trademark explosion. So that's what I'm starting to think now, because to me, it kind of ruins the whole vibe of like, yeah, I actually was magically a vampire. So I think that's pretty actually obviously now that I'm thinking, like, that's probably what it was, and that was his way of like, it's kind of beautiful because that's his way of like moving on, right? Like.
It is.
And the whole theme of this story is kind of like not being able to tell the difference between what's fiction and what's reality. So like, it's possible he really was like thinking about killing himself, but then he didn't, and he put that in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's such a melding of fiction and reality in this manga. But,
and that's really what this generation is. Like, you have blurred the lines so far from what is real and what is fake.
Sorry, go ahead.
What is like the quote unquote brand or influencer, and what is like your genuine life? Like, there's no middle ground anymore, really.
Think like Etika, right? Like, I mean, he lied. I don't know much about him, but I've heard, like, you know, he's an internet legend at this point with like what happened to him and stuff. And I know he live streamed him walking to where he was going to kill himself. You know what I mean? I mean, this is something. Think the guy who did that shooting, where he fucking live streamed driving there, and then he said, "Remember, lads, subscribe to PewDiePie." And then you know, I mean, like, you know, it's. I really, I think this is one of the most, like, Fujimoto constantly impresses me because, like, there's a lot of good authors, but like, I don't feel like there's as many. Like, I feel like he's one of maybe the top ones in terms of being very in touch. He feels very in touch to me, in the same way that like Bo Burnham feels very in touch with his comedy. You know what I mean? They feel like they're talking about things that's going to be commonplace to talk about 10, 20 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, they are on the cusp of like what's happening right now in our worlds as like the younger generation. And I know I'm barely the younger generation anymore. I'm 1 year away from 30, but like, you know,
it feels weird, doesn't it, Red?
It does, yeah. But you know, David Vex and I, we're in an interesting position because our generations are the last generations that grew up without internet and then got it at some point in our lives, right? Like, we didn't grow up from infancy being filmed constantly, or like
I had a shitty Dell and an AOL dial-up disc until I was in high school.
First computer I got was a Gateway. Remember Gateway?
God, yeah.
The cow print.
It's the Walmart brand of computers. Literally.
It was like the cow print vibe, and we had Windows. I think it was Windows 2000 was our first.
Windows 95.
And I think it was like around. I think it couldn't have been before. It was like 2003, 2004 we got it. So I mean, I was like 9 or 10 before I fucked with the internet.
I learned to code in Windows 3.1 because that's all my fucking school had.
Yeah. I was born in 94. When were you born again?
91.
Yeah. So I mean, like, we're in an interesting position there because like, and I think, and you know, and I try really hard to avoid because there's a thing that every generation does. Every generation eventually gets to the point where they're like, my generation was the best. In the past, this new generation, they're gonna be fucked up. Like, every generation says that because it's, you know, I don't want to be that boomer and it's like, oh no, technology's scary. But sometimes I do catch myself feeling like we got the best of both worlds because we got to grow up.
We did,
without it being all the time, but then we got to experience the like cool technological marvels.
And now we sit in front of a computer 8 minutes before you have to get in a lift and film about Goodbye Eri.
Yeah, and that's the part of the internet I like, right? Like, you were talking earlier about like the good and bad. This actually became a really good conversation. This is a nice conversation. I like this. The good and bad. It's like, it's such a good community building place. I think that's the one of the best. I mean, it's so cool to be able to like have. I mean, I have a friend from fucking Germany now, Ann Arbor. Shout outs. You know, it's like.
And we got friends from Germany, from the UK, from over in Bulgaria. Like, we have built an amazing community over here, and that is something that I will never take lightly. Yeah. But I do genuinely see what even just our side of the internet does to people, like the elitism, the toxicity, the inability to form any opinion outside of your own and take it for like face value. Like, I genuinely fucking hate My Hero Academia, but you voice that opinion on the internet and you have people in your comments like, fucking kill yourself. Like, you don't deserve to have this spot on the internet.
It's this all extreme or nothing. It's very weird how the internet does that to people. I think it's because there's like this natural, I don't know, like if you go to there was an example on like subreddits, and how subreddits without moderation will always fucking turn to like psychopath shit, because like when you're operating on a thing where it's like the people get upvotes, the most wild
number
crazy,
go up makes your brain go crazy.
There's that, yes, I mean, for sure. And also though, like in a more nuanced way, I would say like, I think like if you're looking for like what the algorithm's going to push you, it's going to be the most crazy, sensational, yada yada. So like even if you disagree with it, the algorithm's whole thing is like, oh well, this got a lot of interaction, right? So like you do tend to like there was a subreddit that was like, I'm trying to think. I think it was just like, I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it like the fat shaming one? One of the first ones that got banned.
The fat shaming one, and then r/lolly also were some of the first ones that got banned.
And like I remember it because like I think I might be a different one I'm thinking of, but like I'm just gonna use this as an example. Like that fat shaming one, right? Which of course is fucked up. But this is like way back in a much more like free speech era of the internet. Like Reddit's policy used to be we ain't banning shit, right? And then they had to because it got so bad. People were like planning like real life terror, and that's the thing. It started off as just that fat shaming one.
Haha, jokey.
It was memes. It was all
literal.
memes. It was like, oh, fat. But then it kind of just migrated towards like, hey guys, I'm gonna go out and kill 10 fat people today. Help me. Where should I go? And like people were really doing it, you know. And it started like it just kind of like naturally like the most extreme sides both rise to the top. And as much as I love the internet, that is what's caused this like all the instability in the world right now is from that, because people used to just have their own little communities. You know, your circle of interaction before the internet would have been like your school, your work, your family. That's about it. Now it's like everywhere.
It was the electrical box outside the community park, really. And then now you sit inside of Discord and, you know, get your kitten to purr at you. I'm going to fucking eat myself a building for making that joke.
And now you can nice. And now you can like rando Joe Schmo Vex, if he wanted to, could probably fucking like could do a your mama joke to Putin on Twitter and he'd probably see it. Like unironically.
I mean unironically probably.
I mean like, Vex is blocked by Elon Musk.
Yes, because I made a joke about his breakup with Grimes.
So I mean like think about that. Like that couldn't have existed 10, 20 years ago. Vex was able to fucking make a billionaire.
I'm blocked by Ninja. I am blocked by fucking Elon Musk, and I wear those like a goddamn badge of honor.
Vex has this fucking, I don't even know. He's got the power. Like I can't, I don't know. And that's kind of, I'd love to explore. This is like a therapy session because I really want to explore. I used to be that guy who posted and, you know, tweeted and put it on Facebook and did TikToks all the time. I just don't have the energy for it anymore. And like, but at the same time, I miss it. It's not one of those things where I'm like lording myself over, like I'm better than all of you for not doing this. I want to do it. I actually legit miss it, but I just like can't get the energy to post a million tweets a day. Because like I'll be honest with you, I tweet and I get like one like, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck's the point? And then like I go to Facebook, and the only thing that gets likes there is like, oh, here's a picture of my child. Or like, you know, I want to talk about.
I got 7 minutes, Red. So
we'll end it at like 12.
Yeah,
10 to 12, 15.
My lift just started heading my way, so gotcha. That's why I was letting you know.
Basically, though, it's just like if I just have a hard time. I don't know. It's this weird dichotomy because part of me there is that like happiness of like posting a TikTok, watching number go up.
Mhm.
But part of me realizes that I'm probably like happier just focusing on my smaller circle in real life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So-
It's really like anything. It's a balance. You got to find a balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy, I think, hopefully, kind of found his balance and moved on. But it's so sad. And also, now I'm kind of fucking, I'm paranoid because, like, is that part about his fucking child and wife dying? Is that real or is that part of the fucking movie?
Right. Like there's a lot of nuance there, and I do wonder how much of it was like the movie and how much was reality. But to just weigh in on like that one point you were saying there, like you used to do all these things and you like miss all that. So last year I found an old hard drive from when I was in high school, and it had an unfinished album I was working on back then, right? So I spent part of last year up until like December working on that and finishing something I was never able to finish back then because I just lost the passion for it. I released that, and I don't want to cross those bridges, like the Control Chaos side of it and like my personal projects. I want to kind of build my own community and music that way. But I did that, and today I am putting the final touches, like after I get out of what I'm doing, on the first song from my new metalcore project.
Very cool. I'm just gonna full disclaimer. I have not listened to any of this. So like, if it's cringe, don't blame me. All right, I would not put my name on something.
No,
I have no idea how good or bad it is.
And I don't plan on like promoting it through like the Control Chaos channels or anything like that.
Except for right now.
I want to. Besides right now, because I did say I had, this like personal announcement.
Oh, I know. No, I'm just saying I have not listened to this, so like I have no idea. Because there are singing, I get so nervous about singing stuff because there are people, and I'm sure you can sing, but you know as well as I do that singing is one of those things that like people that cannot do it have no idea that they can't do it. Like, people
100%.
will go in so confidently, like, yeah, boom, here's my shit, and it's like awful, and like I just cringe so hard, my butthole puckers myself into a raisin. Like,
yeah, like it's very hard. Like I've had like until like this year, I've had no formal training whatsoever in any kind of like speech or singing or anything like that. And the reason I really got disheartened back then when I was younger was because I tore my vocal cords, because I do screamy screams. That's like my whole thing is I love metal. I love metalcore, like especially like now more like leaning into the Lorna Shore, stuff like that, where I have like an intimate knowledge of the inside of Will Ramos's throat because he did like a video of like how his vocal cords constrict and everything when he does like all the like deep pig squeals and shit like that.
Give it, your lift's probably getting close. You might want to like wrap up and get to a summary.
4 minutes, yeah. So like until this year, like going through like feminization, like vocal feminization therapy and stuff like that, like I have had no formal training in that. So now I'm kind of learning how to control my voice and do it safely. And it's been an interesting experience. And I'm doing this with another more popular YouTuber that I was able to reach out to. I'm like, you do all sorts of like collabs. Would you like help me learn how to produce and do things like this? Because I have zero formal training on that. And they're like, sure, I'll show you how to work this, software and balance everything and do that, free of charge. I'm like, wait, I was literally going to pay you. Like,
that's true. I mean, if you can learn anything from Vex's unearned confidence, it's that like if a lot of times if you just ask, you can get a lot more. Like I got an interview with a fucking whole ass politician a couple of years back just by fucking asking. You know what I mean?
Never be afraid to shoot your shot. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that goes from anything
like,
from like relationships down to collaboration.
Yeah, the important bit is just knowing how to take a no. Don't be a fucking weirdo. If they say no, you leave.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I guess. I mean, final thoughts on Goodbye Aries, so you can head out to your lift.
Yep. I absolutely love Fujimoto's one shots. Like I said,
in general, I fucking love.
Yeah, it. Like I say this. I love the story of the themology of Goodbye Aries more than Look Back, but I do respect the topic that Look Back covers a lot more because it's like loosely thought to be based on the Koi animation Fire, where like hundreds of thousands of hours of footage were lost, and it set production back, by literal years. And I do genuinely think you'll enjoy that story when we cover it. I just find it funny that in this, he was able to make 199 pages feel like 40.
Yeah, I mean that's what he does, and like it's refreshing. I think, at least for me, it is, because he is like the opposite. He's like the nega Oda, and like it's interesting. You can see how people's brains work, because like I've been there. I've been in both places before, right? Where it's like I have so many details I want to do. I'm gonna try to like rush through this, or I don't know how I want to word this. Like it's like when you add more spaces to the page to meet the page limit, but that's definitely not what Fujimoto's doing. I get the vibe that he just, as a writer, as a phenomenal graphic artist, he has this, I don't know, understanding that like if you
of how to use the space.
Oh yeah, I mean, I trying to totally not Mark. Have you watched any of his YouTube videos?
I've watched a few of his TikTok shorts. I've watched a few of his videos back at. He's got
really fun like blind reviews. Just like he'll go in totally blind to series. If you could like find one that you like, yeah, it's really good. Anyway, he made such good points about how like early One Piece versus new One Piece, because he binged it all in like a couple months. You know what I mean? And like early One Piece.
That's something I need to do.
One Piece? Oh, One Piece is way better as a binge, yeah. And with manga, the manga goes way quicker. I mean, literally, like, Allie and I read Dressrosa, which is one of the longest arcs of One Piece. It spanned over 4 years. She got that done in like less than a month. I mean, it's not hard to read One Piece if you just like plow through it. But anyway, you can see like early One Piece, he's just like kind of vibing, having fun with it, and he gives so much space to things that like it feels like a natural. You're able to kind of like breathe in these moments more, and it makes them feel more like real moments. Whereas like a lot of times in like some of his newer arcs, he's been doing better in this current arc, but like in the last arc, he had so many characters he was juggling. It felt almost like you were reading a summary of the arc. You know what I mean? Like each character moment gets like one little panel and then move on. And it's unfortunate because like anyway. I know you have to leave, so I'll just wrap up by saying it's very refreshing to read a Fujimoto production as I'm reading One Piece, because One Piece is like
it's so hard to read week to week, is why I just kind of stopped. Yeah. But I do respect what Oda has done with that story. And I feel like once it ends, I'll just do like a massive binge, and you and I could do like our like baby's first One Piece kind of video.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want you to be late to your lift.
Yeah,
man. So
they're like pulling in right now.
All right, peace
so
out,
I will peace out, everyone.
Woo!